Down in the valley to pray.
Jesus said that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and I don't want to disagree with Jesus because he's always right. But I would say it's not just the love of money that's the problem. An article I read recently indicated that the love of Easter eggs may also be the root of at least some kinds of evil. Because there was this article, it happened in Sacramento, California, 2015. There was this massive Easter egg hunt that included over 500,000 eggs and 7,000 Easter egg hunters. And the event was sponsored by this great organization, an anti-human trafficking organization. So it was for a great cause, and it was an event that had, amazing opportunities, but it just didn't go the way that the workers anticipated. According to some eyewitnesses, people were overwhelmed by the amount of eggs to be gathered. 500,000 eggs, and they were overwhelmed by how much candy could be eaten. And so grown adults began shoving children out of the way to collect their own Easter eggs. And a writer from the local paper reflected on the event by saying this: "As soon as the first eggs hit the ground, people of all ages lunged for the colorful plastic shells, scooping them up by the armful into oversized plastic bags and even laundry baskets." And he goes on to say that the dozen workers or so from the nonprofit organization were just shocked by how the adults responded. And there were just a handful of workers, and they couldn't bring order to the chaos. They anticipated that it would be a very different outcome. It should have been really unifying, should have been this celebratory moment that brought attention to a good cause, but it all kind of fell apart because of human nature. So it's Saturday now before Easter. And it makes me wonder how we're doing on this Saturday between Friday and Sunday. It makes me wonder about the very first Easter, where you have a group of about a dozen people, 11 guys, a handful of women. Their weekend has not gone as expected. Like Easter for them, they don't know it's Easter, but it's not shaping up the way they thought it would. For the past 3 years, they've been following a Jewish leader, teacher, everywhere he went. But now, the hope they had put in him seemed lost. And even though he could perform miracles to back up who he said he was, it seemed impossible. It seemed that hope was gone. And so that Saturday following Jesus' death on the cross would have been a strange day. The disciples probably felt overwhelmed by different emotions, not the least of which I think would have been confusion, because they just had a different picture in their mind of how things would play out. But also, they would have felt grief because they loved Jesus. They saw him as a close friend, and they would have felt anger because of what had happened to them. And they would have felt fear because of the danger that they were in as his followers. And so from the Gospels, we discover that at least a few, if not all of the disciples, expected just something very different from Jesus. They thought he would take a throne on earth. They thought he would put an end to Roman oppression. They thought he would change their immediate circumstances. And then things just didn't go how they thought it would. And I don't know how they felt on that Saturday. The Bible doesn't tell us a lot about it, but it's not hard for us to imagine. Here's what Luke tells us about that Saturday. Luke chapter 23, starting in verse 55, it says that the women who had come with Jesus from Galilee followed Joseph and saw the tomb and how his body was laid in it. And they went home and they, verse 56 says, prepared spices and perfumes. And then it says they rested on Saturday. They rested on the Sabbath in obedience to the commandment. And that's about it. So Luke tells us very little about what happened on that Saturday, but we do know some of his followers, they rested because they had to. It was the Sabbath. And besides that, what else could they do? They had no control over what had happened or what was going to happen. And what do you do in that moment? What do you do on the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Sunday, especially when you don't know that Easter is coming? What do you do when your close friend has been betrayed by someone else who was a close friend? What do you do when the person you thought was going to be king is assassinated? What do you do the day after you watch God die? What do you do when a lot of your expectations just kind of come crashing down around you and you're just left with all kinds of disappointment? Nothing was going the way they thought it would. Everything seemed out of control. And so that Saturday must have been a day where they just felt completely and utterly hopeless. And for some of you, like that's how this Saturday feels to you. Because right now you're in this place where, I don't know, maybe you've lost a job and you're not sure how you're going to pay the bills. Or maybe you've been given a diagnosis and the future seems really scary to you. Or maybe you've recently found out that your marriage is in a lot of trouble and it feels like you can't control your spouse's feelings. Or maybe you've got a child that was diagnosed with a learning disability and you didn't see it coming and you're not sure that you're going to be up to the challenges that lie ahead. But what can you do? It feels like you can't do anything. I mean, we've all experienced what it's like on this Saturday. We've all walked through moments where we have felt hopeless. And that's what that Saturday would have been like for his followers. But here's the thing. It turns out that Saturday is always followed by Sunday. Because of what took place on Friday, the Saturday is Saturday. But Sunday is coming, and that means that on Saturday we always have the hope of Sunday. We live our Saturdays with the hope of Sunday. God has the power, as we're going to see and as we're going to celebrate together on Easter, God has the power to bring life from death. He has the power to take something that seems hopelessly broken and turn it into something beautiful. Like your Saturday is no match for God's Sunday. Anything that is happening in your life right now that just seems broken or evil, anything that seems confusing and it doesn't make sense, anything that has left you feeling overwhelmed with anxiety and fear, that's all Saturday stuff, but we have the hope of Sunday, that God will bring resurrection, that he will bring new life. So I'm thankful for this journey that we've been able to go on together this Holy Week. I'm thankful that you've joined us as we've just imagined what it would have been like for Jesus in that week leading up to his death and resurrection. I want you to stop and think about on this Saturday, if there's a decision that you need to make to prepare yourself to really celebrate the hope of Easter on Sunday. I love the fact that at church tomorrow, that we're going to be having all kinds of baptisms. It's going to be a great day of celebration at all of our campuses. But what we're really celebrating tomorrow on Easter Sunday is the hope that we have in Jesus. What we're really celebrating is the fact that even though life is full of disappointment and discouragement, and even though we often feel out of control by what's happening around us, that our hope is not put in all of those things. Our hope is in Jesus. And so I would love to challenge you, if you've not made that decision to be baptized, that tomorrow would be the day. Tomorrow would be the day where the old is gone and the new has come, and you can experience Sunday. Even though this world feels like one long Saturday, that because of the resurrection of Jesus, Sunday is a day that's filled with hope and joy and celebration. And so join us tomorrow as we celebrate Easter together. If you haven't made that decision to be baptized, I'm praying that God would work in your heart and that you would take that step, that you could experience the new life that he has for you. Hey, thanks again for joining me this week. I hope it's been encouraging. I hope it's been a time for us to just align our hearts and minds around the important work God wants to do in us. Don't let this Easter just be a day of tradition, a day of history, just a day of gathering together with family. I mean, enjoy all of those things, but don't miss the eternal work, the significant work that God wants to do in you. Thanks again for joining us. I will see you tomorrow as we celebrate Easter together.
Come on, brothers, let's go down. Come on down, don't you want to go down? Come on, brothers, let's go